and welcome back to another episode of Literature Podcast. I'm Joanna.
And I'm Mich.
As most of you are aware, St. Patrick's Day is coming up, which means you better find some green in your wardrobe before the horde of pinching green mobs come attack you. I really find it annoying when people pinch you for not wearing green.
Yeah.
Fuck
it's
off.
not really something we do out here.
Oh, really?
Well, like, it happens, obviously, but it's more of a dick move.
Oh.
Like, you just kind of leave people alone on St. Patrick's Day out here. Like, it's just like, oh, you're not wearing green, ha ha ha. But then, like, that's about it.
Yeah, no. It's less common to me now as an adult, but I remember being younger and, like, anybody would just be a dick about it. And I always wore black as a kid, so I pretty much never wore green. Though we won't be pinching anyone today on our podcast, we decided to celebrate by discussing some lucky literary characters, which honestly was really difficult to pick lucky characters.
It was so hard.
Because, like, the author's job is to ruin the character's life so that we have an interesting story to read about. So, they're all very unlucky people.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very hard episode. Which is why we could only both come up with 3. So today it's going to be 6 lucky literary characters.
Fuck, we should have done 7 for Lucky 7.
I wouldn't have been able to think of another one.
Me neither. I would say Harry Potter would be like our 7th random lucky one, but
he's also very unlucky.
He is very unlucky. He's just lucky that he lived, and then past that he got a world of shit from that one.
He's lucky when he takes the lucky liquid luck potion for about 20 pages in the middle of,
he gets
of
real
one
lucky.
of the books. He's really lucky.
Alright, so without further ado, let's jump into our few lucky characters here. Alright, the first girl on my list is Lei from Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nien. Lei is a member of the paper caste, which in her world is the lowest caste you can be. Paper caste are fully humans, not adorned with any demonic or animal features. The next tier are steel castes, which are humans with partial animal or demonic qualities. And the highest tier of people are moon castes, who are more fully demon or have whole animal features. Basically, the more different you are, animal or demon, you're better. If you're just a regular human, you're nothing. Even though Lei is paper caste, she has unusual eyes. They're golden, which is typically only seen in castes with demonic qualities. People in her society believe that her eyes are a sign of good luck, a gift from their heavenly kingdom. Many customers in her herb shop at where her family works request her to make the herbal mixtures because they think that her involvement in making them will make them more. However, the rumor of her eyes has spread to the ears of many, and these lucky eyes are what get Lei taken away from her home when the demon soldiers come knocking. General Hugh, who has decided that he is looking for a prize to win back the favor of their king, and the girl with lucky eyes is going to be the ticket for him to get back. General Hugh plans to hand her off as being a paper girl for the king, and a paper girl is a concubine for the king. Every year, 8 girls are picked to become paper girls. The 8 will live in the castle. They'll please their king whenever he wants. Their families will be showered in riches, so they'll no longer be starving. And after their first year, they will continue to serve soldiers and guests, and maybe even be forced into marriage. When Lei is taken for the pickings, the 8 girls they've already picked their 8 girls for that year. But with her lucky eyes, she becomes the 9th paper girl. In her society, it's considered lucky and fortunate to be picked as a paper girl, but to her, what's so lucky about abandoning your freedom? One of the things I liked about this book was how it showed that luck is a very subjective topic. What is a blessing to one person is a curse to another. Lei is seen as lucky by so many people who are paper caste because she will never starve. She will always live somewhere relatively clean. She lives in a castle. She has a servant. She has the whole 9 yards of what we view as luxury and luck. And all she wishes is to be home with her family in her herb shop. No frills, no servants, just her dignity.
Sounds like an interesting book.
The ideas were good. Most of the book was kind of flat. The beginning was really fun. I think the next book will be more exciting.
Okay. So my first lucky character would be Sunday Woodcutter from Enchanted by Alethea Contis. So this girl is basically spending her life living in the clouds half the time. She's the seventh daughter of the seventh daughter of the seventh daughter. So she's basically, like, prized, I guess, if you will. But everything seems to magically work out for her. She's kind and warm-hearted, which honestly does help her luckiness, because she ends up getting lucky enough to befriend a frog that ends up being a prince that helps her out of a tough situation, and eventually she ends up marrying the prince. And overall, it's like the epitome of like a lucky fairy tale, happily ever after type story. There are a couple parts that aren't as lucky, but overall she tends to find the luck in every situation that she's forced into. And it's just such a happy, fun story that I just love it.
It's cute. My next one is Joe from The Man on the Mountaintop by Susan Trott. Joe is a man who lives on a mountaintop. Joe is called the Holy Man by many. Every day of the summer, thousands of people come to stand in a single file line, waiting to talk to him, to tell him of their problems, seeking his wisdom, hoping to find enlightenment, because their lives suck. These people stand in line for more than just a few minutes. People stand in line for days to talk to him. Joe doesn't have much in terms of wealth, possessions, or social standing, or really anything else besides his little hermitage on top of his mountain. But something that Joe does have is a sense of self and a simple, meaningful life that he's extremely happy with. He lives in his hermitage, and every year he picks a few people to stay with him during the summer to be monks and live a humble life where everyone is equal and appreciated. When Joe was a younger man, he found a teacher during a period of his life where everything was falling apart and he didn't know what to do, which I'm sure many of us can kind of think of a time in our lives where everything seemed hopeless and nothing was going to get better. But it took him years of being with his instructor to become the person that we see him today in this book. He gave up his possessions, the common first world life that he was used to. He gave up attachment, self-contempt, jealousy, and emotional and mental struggles. Many people may not look at him and think that's a lucky man, but I completely disagree. Joe was lucky that he found himself a person he needed to get him through a stage of his life when he didn't know what would happen and where he'd be going. And that happenstance is what made him be able to live the life that gave himself and others agency. And I think that's pretty lucky, and I don't see that in a lot of literature.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love this book. It's super short. Like, it is a super short read. And if you like audiobooks, I recommend the Audible original, because there's someone reading it to you, but you have like the sounds of wind and the chitter chatter in the background when you have the perspective of someone who's waiting in line to see the holy man. And it's the whole experience is really lively while also being relaxing. And it's just a really thought-provoking read that I think everyone should give a try.
Okay, so my next one is going to be Charlie Bucket from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So, out of millions and millions of chocolate bars, Charlie is lucky enough to find one of the golden tickets. He's not one to have, like, the warehouse full of people searching for tickets for him like some other people. And he's not one of those kids who gets a chocolate bar every day after dinner, like some other people in the book. He buys 2 chocolate bars, that's it, just 2, and happens to win on one of them, which is an experience of a lifetime and really freaking lucky, considering he lives in a ramshackle little hut with his 4 grandparents and his parents, and they're broke and starving. But he goes in for this experience of a lifetime, and by being grateful of his luck, he ends up smartly being the only one who doesn't really do anything stupid, or at least too stupid. And his luck really kicks up a notch at the end when he's asked to take over the factory eventually. Like, you know, it's enough to go on one of these experience of a lifetimes, but then you find out that your family is going to be cared for and fed, and he's just so lucky.
Because he opened a chocolate bar. 2 of them, just 2.
Well, yeah. And, like, the first time, he was, like, excited for it. The second time, he just kind of, like, oh, what the hell? And then he opened it, and it's like, oh, my gosh.
Shit.
Holy fuck balls. That's a quote from the book, too. So. That's the outtake section.
Holy fuck balls.
It's a golden ticket.
Holy fuck. Holy
Probably
shit,
what
Grandma.
I would say.
That's probably what I'd say, too.
You're running, bitches, guess what happened?
We're going to a factory, bitches.
There we go.
My last one is Audrey Rose Wadsworth. That's a fucking name.
That's a fun name.
Every time I even say it, I'm just like, wow, that's a mouthful.
A mouthful.
A mouthful. Jeez. From Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. So, from the title of this book, we can kind of already gather that Audrey's going to stalk Jack the Ripper. If you didn't guess that, I don't know what to tell you. Mm-hmm. But she does that to a best of her ability, and the luckiest part about it is the fact that she fucking lives. Okay. Anyway, Audrey is living in the 1800s, and because she's a woman, she doesn't get to just choose her own path in life. Audrey didn't want to get married off and just sit and look pretty in her uncomfortable corsets and dresses. Her interest had nothing to do with needlework on fabric, but human bodies, well, that was a different story. Fortunately for Audrey, she was the Lord's daughter, thus she was born really wealthy. Audrey also had an uncle who had his own lab. He worked in medicine himself, which is kind of what got her into it. He allowed her to learn much through him and even let her pretend to be a boy so she could attend classes at the college he worked for. She had to put in a lot of hard work in the area of medicine she was studying. She had to put a lot of hard work into the deception of her father and those around her, and her general safety of just being a woman. But she was lucky to have the resources and the support that she did to be able to do all that she did in this book and become the person she felt she was meant to be.
All right. So my last one is going to be Simon Lewis from the Shadowhunters series by Cassandra Clare. Okay. So maybe the whole being turned into a rat and then dying and being turned into a vampire thing doesn't exactly make him lucky. But at the same time, he was lucky that he was able to come back as a vampire and continue his life and his story, and that he has such amazing friends that are there for him. He's lucky in the fact that aside from that one time that he died, he manages to evade and escape death basically every time. When you think he's about to die a horrible sunny death, bam, he's a day later. And then once again, when he's about to die, bam, Mark of Cain, which is also kind of a curse, but it does help him in a few sticky situations. Not only does he not die, but things happen and he continues to get lucky throughout the series. This is where I'm going to stop because I know you're not very far, so I don't want to spoil anything for you. But he is lucky enough at the end to kind of get what he wants in a way. If you continue reading past the Mortal Instruments and read Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, you'll know what I'm talking about. But aside from all of that, he just has the best friend in the world. He's lucky enough to have Clary in his life, and kind of unlucky because she kind of is the reason he got turned into a vampire, I guess. But at the same time, it gave him this whole new life, and it gave him a fantastic girlfriend, and to have so many supportive and amazing people around him is just lucky in itself. So, yeah, I think Simon is a pretty lucky guy.
It's funny because I thought about putting him on my list, but since I just finished City of Glass, I was like, but what if something unlucky happens? And I'm just punching myself in the mouth right now.
I just feel like for him, because I didn't want to give any spoilers, so I'm not giving any specific spoilers really, but I feel like it's been out for so long that if you don't know that Simon is still alive by the end of it, I'm shocked, I
didn't know he was still alive at the end of it. I knew he was alive until book 2.5, because that's as far as I read up until next year.
But he's but there's spoilers everywhere about him.
I have evaded them somehow.
How?
I don't even purposely evade them. I've managed.
Interesting. Well, he lives.
I don't feel spoiled, but I'm glad he lives. After reading A Song of Ice and Fire, I'm just waiting for everyone to die in every series I read. You're gonna die. You're gonna die. I like you.
I feel
When
like
are you dying?
Cassandra Clare's not that mean. Like, she doesn't kill off many of her characters, but the ones that she does kill off are, like, necessary. Yeah. Yeah, thinking through all of her series, because I've read all of them, and I'm waiting for another one to come out next month, so that's exciting. But thinking through them all, yeah, no, she only kills off vital characters, I feel.
Okay. Well, I'll be less paranoid going on in her books.
Well, that was all we had for today's episode. Who are some literary characters that you find lucky? Let us know in the comments below.
If you'd like to get more lit, be sure to subscribe to us on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, or Castbox. All other social media will be linked in the description.
Be sure to give this podcast a like or rate our podcast. It really helps us to keep doing what we love. Until next time,
Bye.
bye.